Well, strange things happen in a strange old world. Hey, speaking of strange things happening, we found out yesterday, of course, how much money had been washing around in the yes and no campaigns in the Voice to Parliament, and we find out today exactly where all of that money had come from. You can see the list here of all the top 20 companies in Australia, all bar one of which donated to the Yes campaign. What a surprise. And of course, the Yes campaign, having received all of this money and losing, they received far more money than the No campaign received, they've actually got money left over. There are donations washing around that were made to the Yes campaign, Yes 23 was its official name, that has not been spent. They're now working out exactly how that money can be spent on, other like causes, etc. I would suggest that it ought to be given back to those companies so it can go back to the shareholders who probably didn't want their money donated in the first place. And you look at that list of the $47 million that was donated to the Yes campaign over that 6-month period. I mean, it is literally every big company in the country, all the banks, Wesfarmers, on and on and on and on it goes. We kind of know what they all think, don't we? Or do they really think it? Or are they, essentially doing it to curry favour in the world in which they now live?
It's a good question, because to find who donated to the No campaign, you've really got to do a bit of investigation. But to discover who donated to the Yes campaign, that's very public. So were they really supporting an Indigenous voice, or were they buying attention and gratitude and favour? Imagine if they'd spent that money on actually helping disadvantaged Australians instead of trying to insert race into the Constitution.
They could have closed the gap. Single-handedly. Thanks, guys.
There's two interesting things on this. One is we were told the referendum failed because of misinformation. And yet you look at the spending disparity between the Yes campaign and the No campaign. Well, if it was misinformation that was the problem, they sure didn't spend their millions very well. And how out of touch are CEOs and corporate boards that they would expend that much of shareholder money on a failed referendum, which has to raise questions about their ability to properly direct companies for profit.
Well, they can't read the room. They certainly can't read the public sentiment. But let's remember, in the polls, it started out very strong. And we don't know at what point in the game. I'd love to know the dates which they donated, because it would have either been at the beginning when it looked like, oh, this is a shoo-in, but we just need to really ramp up our efforts, make this really visible, or later in the game when it was like, oh, this is not looking good, guys. We need to batten down the hatches. We need a bigger war chest. But then, confusingly, they didn't even spend it all, like you say. So it's like you could have...
They donated too much money.
Yeah, exactly.